How did you acquire some of your first customers for the website Mirror? I know you said some of the first stuff was you were doing reaching out and just being open to work and some referrals, but through the website Mirror, how'd you acquire some of those customers?
Yeah, honestly, I have LinkedIn to thank. And I think by the time I announced my offer, I think I got like 15 leads because I had already been talking about it and like building it up so that when the offer actually came, people were like, oh, I'm familiar with this and I know that I need it. So that was a really good strategy, kind of building in public and building before it was like quote unquote ready. And my clients all came from like different areas. So the first few clients, one was someone I'd worked with a lot before on other projects and not really their own brand. So that was really fun to get to work on their own brand with them. Another person honestly was introduced to me through a friend and we did it like a networking call and we really jived. They had me on a podcast of theirs actually and they were like, I want to work with you. Like they just saw a website Mirror Copy and they were like, I'm starting this new thing and I would like that. So that was awesome. And then the third was literally someone who just saw one of my posts, lives in Europe, who I'd never talked to before, and was like, they literally told me this. They were like, every single like possible scenario you wrote out about like what maybe you're experiencing with your website was me. And so I read it and I was like, oh my God, I need this. So that was the perfect example of like make the problem clear, show how you solve it, and the process really works. And then you don't have to do all this like I don't know. I don't love sales. I don't love using like sales tactics. So having those things happen so organically was also awesome to see. I was like, I didn't even really have to sell. I can just post a couple times about like how I authentically created this offer. And then those folks came through.
Yeah, it takes the pressure off
Yeah.
because they're mostly cooked. Because I had someone tell this to me, say something similar to me very early when I started. He said, the only way you would know this is if you had a hidden camera in my office. Like, how did you know this? And I think it's a lot of what you're describing, which is like
Yeah.
just articulate it in such an odd level of specificity that anyone who sees it goes, "There's this person gets it
Yeah.
so much more
And
than anybody else."
yeah, it was helpful too that since I have been piloting this like in private and like kind of like building over the years, that I had those common threads of like what my clients were telling me of like
Right.
there is a this thread of problems that they're experiencing and they all sometimes they're different flavors, but they all have like the same root. And I was able to like articulate that. And this person truly was like, every single thing you wrote was how I feel. And that felt good. I was like, I understand the problem.
A problem well framed is like it's like one of the most legendary unlocks in business. Like I think there's certainly still after all this time so much conventional marketing wisdom that's like just show people how great the thing is. Show people that you do a thing. But you and I both know that there's a lot of people in your line of work. Like there's no shortage of people who can write their website. Even mine, there's a ton of people creating offers for people. It's just like, how do people choose? How does anyone know who? And I think it comes down to affinity, in my opinion, right? It's like people have an affinity for you or for the way that you see the problem. They connect with that over someone else. You made the problem highly visible. You gave them the words to describe it in a way that someone else didn't, and you become the solution. And I think it boils down to affinity. They're like, it's just like, it wasn't, you remove the comparison from it. Because if they show up and they go, I need someone to write my website. And then they go, who can write websites? And they search LinkedIn, they search Google, they search ChatGPT. And then you're in that tab flipping war with people where they're like, they have no way of knowing who's what. And then you end up like, do the race to the bottom bullshit. And like, it's a more for less game. I mean, even I went through this personally. I was looking for a coach for myself recently. And I had no affinity, like no recall, no one came to mind. And I even got some referrals. I was like, I asked around. I was like, who do you guys use? Like who? And I asked, and then I booked some calls. I talked to some people. And even then I was like, I'm not there. Like, I don't know. I'm just not there because I wasn't conditioned. Like, I don't know how they see the world. I'm sure they're fantastic coaches. We had great conversations. And maybe there's a high probability that they could help me. I have no doubt. But if you don't have that conditioning that takes place that builds that trust and affinity, which is, I think, a lot of the work that, like the invisible work that you do as when you're creating content, that's the thing that makes the biggest difference. When you're in a space where a lot of people play, it's like, how do you remove the comparison and really just turn it into a choice? It's like, either you're going to hire me or you're going to do it yourself. There's you're probably not going to hire somebody else.